What is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? My name is Matt. Welcome to JustBallin, and yeah, right out of the gate, we got to talk about the Denver Nuggets, and it may be time to hit the panic button on this team's bench unit. A lot of people were skeptical about the Denver Nuggets going to the season as an elite team in the West, and I was one of those guys because the Denver Nuggets lost KCP in the offseason. Jamal Murray looked a little bit shaky, and that may be kind of nice, what he was doing for Team Canada in the Olympics. They re-signed Aaron Gordon, so it kind of cap-strung them financially. And this team's bench unit did not look the greatest on paper going into the season, but maybe you were going to get a bounce-back year from Zeke Naji. Maybe you're going to see a step from Julian Strawther or Peyton Watson. But so far, the Denver Nuggets have not looked like a team that can compete for an NBA title this year. They lost by 15 to the Oklahoma City Thunder to start off this year, which is fine. The Thunder, they're one of the best teams in the Western Conference. Everybody can agree to that. It was their first game. The Knicks bounced back after their abysmal first game. But losing to the LA Clippers at home with no Kawhi Leonard is definitely a little bit alarming if you're a Nuggets fan. Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr., who are making a lot of money for this team, have not lived up to expectations so far this year for the Denver Nuggets, which is definitely disappointing. Jamal Murray has been fine, but you would like for Jamal Murray to be a little bit better based on the amount of money he's getting paid, but this bench unit has been terrible. Russell Westbrook, so far in his first 2 career games with the Denver Nuggets, is 2 of 18 from the field and 1 of 9 from 3. It has definitely been a disaster for Russell Westbrook in his very short Denver Nuggets career. Dario Saric, who the Nuggets used their mid-level exception on that Golden State didn't really even want anymore, has also not been good whatsoever. He is not giving them the minutes off the bench that they need. And this Nuggets team, without Nikola Jokic right now, looks like one of the worst teams in the league, and they are relying way too much on Jokic to save them right now. And I think that means Denver is going to have to look to maybe the free agency market or an unexpected trade that we could see down the stretch. Now, I don't know what's going on financially with them. Can they go after Markelle Fultz? Would they want somebody that can't shoot? I know he's also hurt right now, but they should also try to get Lonnie Walker from the Celtics G League team. They need somebody that could shoot, attack the rim, show some aggression off this bench, because Julian Strawther, as much as I really liked him and expected him to break out this year, it's going to take a little bit of time, and he's still extremely young and still has his raw feel for the game, and I think that's way too much of expectations for Julian Strawther just to become an elite 6-man for them right away. So Peyton Watson has also looked kind of lost offensively, which is a shame because he showed some promise last year, and we all know that he could be a great defender as well. So this bench unit being Dario Saric, Peyton Watson, Russell Westbrook, and Julian Strawther is not going to cut it in the Western Conference. When you look at the Thunder's bench, or the Timberwolves bench, or the Mavericks, or the Lakers even, the Suns, these teams have so much better bench units than the Denver Nuggets right now, and it's not even close. And like I said, could we see an unexpected trade from the Denver Nuggets this year? This one I was pondering to myself, like, what if we get to a point where they obviously can't move Aaron Gordon or Jamal Murray since they just recently signed them, so they can't get traded throughout this year. You're obviously not moving Nikola Jokic. Does Michael Porter Jr. become the odd man out on this team? 26 years old. Would the Brooklyn Nets be interested in trading for Michael Porter Jr.? And we could see him as a number 1 option in Brooklyn because they have 2 good role players that I think could make this team a little bit deeper and could help out their depth issues here in Denver. And you could also get off the Zeke Naji contract as well. You're really not going to need him going forward when Deron Holmes gets fully healthy next year. Just something like this. I'm not saying this has to happen right now. Michael Porter Jr. could go on a crazy streak over the next 2 to 3 weeks, and obviously this team could be fine come February, but I just wonder if this is going to be an idea that has to come for Denver. It doesn't have to be Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith, but do they have to move Michael Porter Jr.? Because everybody else really either doesn't have trade value, is too young, not making enough money, or these big contracts like Murray and Aaron Gordon that you can't physically move because they were just recently signed, that Michael Porter Jr. is the only guy you can trade, and getting basically 2 rotational players for 1 rotational player is the way that they have to go, even though that Cam Johnson and Finney-Smith are worse than Michael Porter Jr. But Cam Johnson playing with Nikola Jokic may just be a way better player than what we're seeing from him in Brooklyn. So like I said, I'm not saying that that has to happen, but I think it could be an idea for Denver because they look lost out there. And if they show that they can't beat these teams like the LA Clippers, a team they should definitely beat, it's going to be a long year for Denver. And a lot of people predicted them to be a top 4 seed in the West, including me. They could be fighting for that 5, 6, 7 spots in the West because it is still a competitive conference. You're going to have all these teams fighting for those top 6 spots. Nobody wants to be in the play-in tournament. And Denver God forbid Nikola Jokic gets hurt, they are going to look like one of the worst teams in the West if that were to happen. Other notable things around the league as the San Antonio Spurs beat the Houston Rockets 109-106 on Saturday to pick up their first win of the year. The Rockets are definitely off to a slightly disappointing 1-2 start. It's funny because the 3 teams they have played so far, they're 1-2, and their 1 win was probably the team they should have lost to, like the Memphis Grizzlies, and their 2 losses were the 2 teams they should have beaten in the Charlotte Hornets and the San Antonio Spurs. But Wemby was so much better in his second game than his first game. He took a ton less threes, goes 2 of 5 from downtown. He puts up 29 points, 3 blocks, 7 rebounds, 10 of 17 from the field, and he just looks still like one of the more entertaining players in this league. You saw a better Keldon Johnson from opening night for them. Jeremy Shohan was much better in this game as well. And I hate to say it, but Chris Paul does look like he's taken a little bit of a step back, which for somebody of his age and his size, those guys never age the best. But I just hope that this is not going to be what we see from Chris Paul all year long, and we could see a better version of him. And for the Houston Rockets, this is a team that I don't think has gelled properly so far. Jalen Green has been slightly inefficient in all his games so far. He shot 30% from 3, 3 of 10 against the Spurs, but he was 10 of 22 from the field, which is a little bit better. But I think Jalen Green's defense has actually been something to watch this year. I think it has definitely improved in Houston. I think he's locked in on that end of the floor, and if he could just get that efficiency up a little bit more, this man could be such a well-balanced player in this league. And also something I'm keeping an eye on, Alperen Şengün has not looked the best to start off this year. It's definitely been a little bit of a rocky start for him in his first 3 games. Just something I'm going to keep an eye on. The Detroit Pistons are 0-3 to start off this year, but I feel like they are a different Detroit Pistons team. They've had 3 tough games to start off this year. Indiana, Cleveland, Boston. It's not going to get much easier for them because they got to go to South Beach, take on the Heat, go to Philadelphia. Embiid should be playing. Same with Paul George. Got to take on the Knicks. They may not pick up their first win until November 3rd against Brooklyn. But yeah, even though they've lost to Boston, Indiana, and Cleveland, all those games have been relatively competitive. They blew that game against the Indiana Pacers. They lost by 6. It wasn't as competitive as a 12-point loss against the Cavs, but they still showed some life in that game, and they gave Boston their most competitive game all year long. Boston beat them 124-118. Cade looks so good, man, this year, and this is what I believed in Cade Cunningham. And I know Tobias Harris hasn't been great so far, but Jaden Ivey has, and Cade just looks more comfortable with this team. He has been efficient. I mean, he wasn't the most efficient guy against Boston, but for his standards right now, I think Cade is living up to those expectations, and it's something to get excited about in Detroit, especially with the way Jaden Ivey has been playing. And I even think Jalen Duren has done a solid job this year as well. So I think JB Bickerstaff is going to get 2 thumbs up from me. I know they're 0-3, but it's against 3 teams that they should probably lose to, and at least they've been competitive in all 3 of these games in a way. Also, it was funny that everybody wanted to say the sky is falling in Miami after they got blown out against the Orlando Magic in their first game. And yeah, that was a little alarming because their offense looked so bad, and Orlando's defense had them in a blender for most of that game. They bounced back with a 114-106 win against the Charlotte Hornets. Jimmy Butler looked night and day different between his first game against Orlando, second game against Charlotte. He was definitely a little reliant on the free throws in the Charlotte game where he took 17 free throws, but I think he did look a lot better. Bam, though, has not been great so far offensively this year. He went 6 of 17 against the Charlotte Hornets team, whose starting center was Nick Richards. This should be an opportunity for Bam to get right this year, get going, and maybe showcase that three-point ability, but he was 0 of 2 from downtown, and that was something everyone was getting excited about. Bam maybe being able to take a decent amount of threes this year, and they have not been falling to start off this year for Bam. So hopefully he doesn't lose that confidence and he stops taking the threes, because if he can actually become a 34% three-point shooter, he's going to be even more valuable in this league. And the last thing I want to talk about, LA Lakers, Sacramento Kings. This was a thriller on Saturday night where the Lakers outscored the Kings 44-33 to come back in that fourth quarter and win that game. They won 131-127. I mean, the JJ Redick Coach of the Year conversations are probably starting right now, but I think they're definitely deserved. They are on their way to possibly be exceeding preseason expectations. We still have a long way to go, but they've had 3 impressive wins so far, beating the Minnesota Timberwolves, beating the Phoenix Suns, and beating the Sacramento Kings. Those are 3 good Western Conference teams. So it's not like the Lakers have beaten the Blazers, the Jazz, and the Spurs. These have been good Western Conference teams that they are beating. LeBron just had a 32-point triple-double. This guy's going to be 40 years old in December, so it's nice to know that he's not losing a step, and that is going to be huge for the Lakers all year long. Anthony Davis, I mean, his plus-minus wasn't great against the Sacramento Kings, and maybe didn't look like an elite defender in this game, but still put up 31 and 9 in maybe his worst game of this small season so far. As for Sacramento, I mean, another brutal loss for them. They definitely could be 2-0, beating Minnesota and LA, but they lost both those games in the fourth quarter. It's nice to know that DeMar DeRozan, who definitely could have shown a sign of taking a step back, he's getting up there in age, new environment in Sacramento, has not. I think he's looked calm, cool, collective in Sacktown, and that is going to be big for the Kings all year long. So yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of Just Ballin. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about any of the topics that I talk about, and let me know, are you as worried about the Denver Nuggets than I am? Please let me know in the comments. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.